One photograph. One glare. And a future king who, friends say, felt ambushed inside Westminster Cathedral. That's the word doing the rounds after the Duchess of Kent's historic requiem brought the family together and seated Prince Andrew within inches of the Prince of Wales. If you're here for calm, grown-up royal analysis, tap like and subscribe so you never miss our next chapter. The images are not subtle. William's jaw set, eyes forward, shoulders tightened. Behind him, his uncle, Britain's most controversial royal, visible in frame after frame. A friend of William's told reporters the evening was a disgrace, and that the prince was furious at being boxed in by the seating plan. You don't need to be a body language expert to see why that single placement has set off a week of whispers. Remember the backdrop. This was a solemn Catholic funeral for Catherine, Duchess of Kent, the first of its kind for a royal in modern times. King Charles led the family. Queen Camilla was forced to withdraw at the last minute with acute sinusitis. William and Catherine attended, as did the wider Kent, Gloucester, and York branches. The tone was meant to be unity in grief. Instead, the photographs handed the headlines to the one storyline the palace would prefer stayed in the long grass: Andrew's proximity to the heart of the line of succession. So how does someone end up directly behind the Prince of Wales at a service like this? Seating at major royal rites is part protocol, part geometry, part real-time problem-solving. The Lord Chamberlain's office builds around rank, role, and family ties. Cathedral space is finite. Last-minute absences ripple through a grid like a stone in water. One substitution, one switched pew, and you can create an optic no one intended. But there's the rub: when the optic is this combustible, intent matters less than impact. Inside a cathedral, sight lines are everything. The press pool doesn't shoot the whole nave, it shoots a lane. Move one chair into that lane and you rewrite the day. Add a TV gantry, a fixed rostrum, and the camera sees what the camera can see, often the same angle, repeated, syndicated worldwide within minutes. In that frame, adjacency looks like endorsement, even when it's just unfortunate cartography. For William, impact is the point. Multiple briefings over the past 2 years have made his stance clear: there is no public road back for his uncle. Not to frontline engagements, not to high-visibility moments, not even by accident. Polls have made the politics easy. Andrew sits at the bottom of every approval table, but this is more than a number. It's a line. Protect the crown's credibility, keep the rain off the next reign. That's how William thinks. And at a funeral watched around the world, the photographs told a simpler story than any seating memo ever could: the future king framed side by side with the past's most painful chapter. Was it truly an ambush? Only the people holding the pew lists know. But the sensation of being cornered by the camera is real. Royal optics live in inches. One row forward reads as distance, one row back reads as endorsement. Move a figure from the edge of the nave to the spine of the shot, and the narrative writes itself. It's why these plans are rehearsed like choreography. It's why last-minute illness, Camilla's in this case, can yank a thread you thought was tied. Catherine's presence steadied the frame. She is a natural fuse box in volatile rooms, warm to grieving relatives, low drama, relentlessly appropriate. You could see it in the way she acknowledged senior Kents, in the soft half-smile that says, "This is about them, not us." William matched that tone in the service. Outside of it, friends say, he wasn't shy about how it felt to sit inches from an uncle he has no intention of rehabilitating. Those two truths can coexist: duty in public, frustration in private. There's also a practical lesson here the palace won't say out loud: contingency seating must now anticipate optics, not just protocol. Funeral hosts set the order of precedence. Private secretaries fight for the camera cut. When a high-risk relative attends, you seat by families, you pad with cousins, you build a buffer row. None of it is personal. All of it is protective. Call it the new arithmetic of a picture-led age. Royal watchers will ask the obvious: who signs off on this, and does it change? In practice, the chain runs through the Lord Chamberlain, private secretaries, cathedral stewards, and the host family, in this case, the Kents. There is tradition, yes, but there is also discretion. You don't ban a family member from a funeral. You do, however, manage adjacency. Expect more of that, quietly, firmly, whenever William is in the building. Think less about exclusion and more about sight lines. The palace can honor kinship without gifting the shot. Zoom out and place this moment in a longer story. Charles has balanced compassion for a brother with the obligations of a sovereign. The result has been a narrow lane for Andrew, private, low-key, carefully policed. William's lane is narrower still. He reads the public mood, and he has a lifetime's stake in the monarchy's reputation. He will not blur the line between attendance and acceptance. That's why the ambush language landed so hard. It challenged the one thing he's been immovable on. It also arrived in a week loaded with symbolism. A historic Catholic service that underlined the king's instinct for bridge building. An absent queen consort whose illness reshaped the plan. A princess of Wales who has quietly increased her pace, showing calm health and careful presence. And then, that photograph. The family did the big things right. The picture did the simple thing wrong. Public reaction followed a familiar arc. Sorrow for the Duchess, praise for the dignity of the service, and then a flood of screen grabs that flattened nuance into a single question: why is Andrew there? He's there because funerals are family, not PR. But where he appears and who he appears beside is a choice. Expect that choice to be exercised with surgical care next time, from order of procession to who takes which end of a pew. What happens next is procedural, not theatrical. Expect tighter pre-briefs between households. Expect contingency grids that treat last-minute changes as inevitabilities, not exceptions. Expect, bluntly, that if there's a camera within 50 yards, Andrew will be framed by cousins and Kents, not by the heir. This isn't cruelty. It's risk management in an era when one still image can drown a week of service. For those wondering whether this hard line will soften when William becomes king, don't hold your breath. Seasoned commentators note that his view of the Andrew problem has been consistent and unsentimental. He isn't out to humiliate. He is out to protect. That will translate to fewer public moments, quieter private observances, and an iron rule about who stands where when the nation looks in. Balcony arithmetic will reflect that. So will pew maps. There's a human cost to all of this. Families are not spreadsheets, and grief doesn't care about optics. The Duchess of Kent was a figure of quiet decency, with a deep love of music and a kind word for two little boys who grew into princes under the harshest lights. Her farewell deserved still water. Instead, it got a ripple. That's no one's desire. It is, however, the reality of a royal family whose every inch is read like a paragraph. If you're searching for malice, you may be disappointed. The more likely truth is more ordinary and more instructive. Systems under strain make small mistakes that become big headlines. The fix is dull, early lists, backup lists, eyes on the camera line, but dull is what you want. Dull keeps the focus where it belongs, on faith, memory, and the people saying goodbye. And when dull fails, you absorb the lesson, not the rumor. Manage the frame, guard the future, and don't let a photograph borrow authority it was never meant to have. One last thought about the photographs themselves. Sometimes a face at rest is just a face at rest. William carries the week on his brow. He always has. Place a figure he cannot endorse a yard behind him, and you don't need to invent a narrative, you've already built it. That is why he was, by all accounts, so angry. Not for himself, but for the story it told when the story should have been the Duchess. Was it a mistake, a message, or just a bad angle? You've heard the contours, now tell me what you saw. Should the palace be more aggressive about managing these moments, even at family funerals? Or do you accept that, once in a while, the camera will catch what the plan missed? Drop your take in the comments. If thoughtful, measured reporting on the royals is your cup of tea, give this a like and subscribe. We'll keep walking you past the rope, quietly, carefully, and with both eyes open.